Good morning. This is the first video Dharma Talk that we have created at the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. This was inspired by the fact that we have had to cancel our regular service and other activities due to the contagious nature of COVID-19 virus that is plaguing much of the world. This video is being posted on our website and may serve as a substitute for our usual Sunday service. The March 15th service was scheduled to be our spring Ohigan service. Much of the Buddha's teachings are very applicable in helping us deal with this ongoing threat. Ohigan emphasizes the dualistic nature of all things that can be mitigated by our awareness of the middle path. This pandemic demonstrates the unbalanced nature of our lives. As unfortunate as this is, this international crisis may encourage us to listen to the Buddha's teachings as a means of resolving the many difficulties that we encounter. I will speak more about the middle path next week. But today, I would like to focus this Dharma talk on our present situation that is being challenged by the widespread international effect of the COVID-19 virus and its pandemic effect on the lives of millions of people around the globe. How do we, as Shin Buddhists, respond to this epidemic? First, let me describe our present situation. There's a new virus that infects the respiratory system of us humans. For many, it presents symptoms of the flu. But for many, especially the elderly and those with other mitigating health conditions, it means that a person may need a medical device to help them breathe. The significant character of this virus is that it is highly contagious, and because it is new, nothing is known about its cure. It is very contagious, which means it is easily passed from person to person. Since December, we see that huge populations in China, South Korea, and Italy were affected. What these countries have done is to test people to identify who has the virus. By identifying who has the virus, they can isolate to restrict the spread. If this is not done quickly, the virus can infect millions in a short time. To prevent the spread, people are instructed not to congregate in public places. The entire country of Italy has been closed, where people have been instructed to stay home and not go about their usual business of work, school, shopping, and other community activities. The virus has been in the United States for over a month or two. Because we have been slow to supply testing procedures, we have no idea of how widespread it is. It is very dangerous because it can cause death, especially for the elderly and those with compromising medical conditions. Judging from the rapid spread of this disease in other countries, we can assume a similar pattern here. Therefore, without the benefit of being able to test, we must assume that many people in our population are already infected. Of these people, the elderly may suffer the greatest. Let us look at this situation from a Buddhist perspective. Many people are suffering. The First Noble Truth informs us that the experience of suffering alerts us that something is off balance. The Second Noble Truth informs us that our ego attachment is the cause of the suffering. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that our ego has caused this disease. It is our mind that doesn't see it as natural. Our unenlightened ego minds would like that all life to be pleasant. When most things in our personal lives are going well, we take things for granted and expect life to go on according to our expectations. Our unenlightened minds would see this virus as bad or a result of an evil force. Some religions would place blame on some unnatural force. They may practice a petitionary prayer to alter the external world. What about Buddhists? There are three experiences that Siddhartha Gautama saw as a young prince: a sick person, an old person, and a dead person in a funeral procession. These three conditions don't have a pleasant solution. Like this virus, we can become sick with no cure. Old age has no cure. Death is irreversible. These things are natural in our human life. These are not intrinsically bad things. They are natural. Our ego mind identifies them as bad because it alters our belief that life should be free of these. The fourth experience that young Siddhartha saw was a monk seeking truth. So, the resolution of these elements of sickness, old age, and death is not to eliminate them, which is impossible to do. It is to change our minds about how we view life. The Buddhist practice is not to change reality. It is to develop our minds to accept reality. As Buddhists, our practice is to wake up to reality. Two truths that the Buddha taught was anicca, impermanence. All things change. The second is anatman, no separate entity or no separate self. We sometimes use the word interdependence to describe anatman. We are all part of a whole. Our suffering comes from our ego thoughts that we are only like changes that's good for us. Our suffering comes from the thought that I am separate from you and others. This pandemic has provided the experience that we are all connected on a global scale. We know this on an intellectual level, as we know that our clothes, electronic, cars, and food come from other countries. We know it's cheaper to produce in other countries, but we don't think too much about the fact that people in other countries are supporting our comfort by their lower standard of living. Now, as fellow humans, we are all vulnerable to this virus, regardless of our social standing. Now, this COVID-19 virus has given us the experience that we are all connected. A disease that started far away is affecting all of our ordinary lives in a very dramatic way. Within a short amount of time, the American public is being made aware of the widespread and dangerous nature of this virus. We pay attention when traditional sport games and basketball and other sports are canceled. Also, entertainment, social, and religious gatherings have been canceled. We have always had threats to our life: sickness, car accidents, unhealthy lifestyles, natural disasters. But we often don't think they will enter our personal lives. Disease, threats to our economy, challenges to lifestyles have always been here. But now, because of the widespread nature, it has become a significant factor. I remember taking a class in microbiology. In the microbiology classroom, we had petri dishes which we used to grow cultures from swabs taken from surfaces, countertops, doorknobs, and other things. I always felt that the microbiology room was dirtier than other classrooms, but that wasn't it. It was just that we could see the bacteria growing in the microbiology lab. The same bacteria that was in all the classrooms on their countertops, doorknobs, and other things. This is what is happening now. The disease, the virus, is already among us. We just can't see it. From a Buddhist perspective, it is giving us a real example of the fundamental teachings of the Buddha. The individual self is an illusion. When we act in ways that only enhance the small individual self, many people suffer. The true self is the whole of humanity. We are not separate individuals. We are all interconnected, interdependent humanity. When one person is affected, all people are involved. So, as Shin Buddhists, how do we act? As Buddhists, we don't spend a lot of time assigning fault to some outside force. It is not an external devil. Viruses, bacteria, germs, pollution, smoggy air, contaminated water, unhealthy diets, dangerous drugs, car accidents have always been with us. We have been fortunate to live in an American society where science and a progressive attitude have minimized many threats that still hinder much of the world. It is our own self-centered nature that has neglected the well-being of others, especially those on the other side of the world. As Shin Buddhists, we don't spend a lot of time in petitionary prayer wishing that the external world would bend to our favor. We act in ways that benefit all beings. This pandemic is an opportunity to see that the idea of a separate individual is an illusion. We are one interconnected humanity. What affects one person affects all people. Sadly, the contagious nature of this virus wakes us up to this truth. There is some irony here, because we are so interconnected and dependent on each other, the virus has spread quickly. So, for the benefit of others, we must separate ourselves from each other. Staying away from others will help limit the spread of this virus. That is why we have had to cancel so many important events, like the special Ohigan service and other activities. We have even postponed funerals because of the likelihood of infecting elders who might attend. So we can show our respect for each other by not transmitting the disease by our closeness to one another. Koichi Mizushima made a point in his talk to our junior YBA last week. He noted that in America, people tend to wear a medical mask to prevent others from infecting them. However, it has been a long-standing practice in Japan and China for a sick person to wear a mask so that he would not affect others. This is the attitude we might take. We take steps to limit our connection to others for the sake of keeping the virus from the elderly and those who might be medically challenged. This is the Buddhist attitude that the me is actually the we. The widespread and deadly nature of this virus focuses our attention to the truth of impermanence and interdependence. Because this pandemic has spread so quickly to so many countries, Siddhartha's concern with sickness, old age, and death becomes a real and present challenge for each of us. Weekly services, Dharma discussions, and religious teachings are no longer a side issue. The deep philosophical truths have to become real as a practice. Namo Amida Butsu is not just a recitation. It is a practice of interdependence. We are responsible to each other. We wash our hands, keep our distance from each other. We limit our interaction with the elderly. The love we show our parents and grandparents may be to stay away from them. The irony is that we experience our interconnectedness by our separating ourselves from each other. This social distancing shows us that our natural state is of being connected, but being connected can spread the disease. The Buddha advised that each of us test out his teachings and not accept it blindly. Therefore, ritual and tradition must bow to truth. Rituals and traditions may be the fingers pointing to the truth. So many of the services, funerals, and other activities usually performed at the temple are suspended for the truth of the seriousness of that this virus can cause. Namo Amida Butsu is our expression of gratitude for the Buddha's teaching in guiding us through this experience of doubt and insecurity. But our practice of kindness, respect, and concern for others validates our admission that we are all part of the greater whole. Namo Amida Butsu. At the end of this video, there will be links to more information to help you on a practical level to deal with this virus. Thank you. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.